Hey everybody, Nick here, and tonight we're going to do a little bit of disassembly and maintenance on this little guy right here. This is the Kizer Desert Dog, which is a Vagnino design. Very interesting knife. Looking at it from the factory here, this was sent directly from Kizer. We are slightly off-center, favoring the show side, and action is okay. It's gritty. I feel like there's stuff up in there, so I'd like to see if we can improve on that a little bit. And the best way to do that, in my experience at least, is to take the thing apart. So looks like we are using probably T10 on the pivot and T6 on the rest of it, which is okay. Go ahead and pop out the handle here. Oh, is that T6? That's T6. Alrighty. My hope, my dream, my fondest desire is that we're just going to pop off this carbon fiber here and then everything else will be available to us, you know, straightforwardly. But I rather suspect that there's going to be a ring of screws like here and here and here that will be keeping the thing the rest of the way together because, well, there kind of has to be. And that just means that this whole thing, whoa there, appears to be under some tension here. Or maybe it was just weirdly... No, there was just thread locker in there. All right, whatever. And we'll use T10 on the pivot here. First time I've disassembled this knife, so should be interesting to see what's going on inside here. All right, pop that off. Yeah, indeed, there are two screws right there. And again, that makes sense because screws in the center here can't hold a backspacer in. Some kind of weird goopy dude going on in there. Oh, and then they've just carved out areas for the screws to sit in this carbon fiber, which is fine. You know, I don't recall Kizer having used much carbon fiber. No, that's not true. The megatherium and whatnot. Guys, I'm not making any sense. Don't mind me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pop those out. And I've got a nice little screw organizer up top here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these little guys into their own little pocket here. But I just need to remember that flat ones go on the outside, round ones go on the inside. And then at this point, we're disassembled. Whoa there. And I am definitely seeing some dirt and crud and whatnot in there, so I am optimistic that we're going to be doing a good thing here. Yeah, hopefully we can get this running a little better. It's also pretty dry. Yeah, oh man, if I can get this knife running better, that's going to be just a beautiful thing. 100%. Could be one of those really, I don't know, satisfying things. So much in life you cannot control. Oh, interesting. This little guy is free moving there. This was a bit of a problem for the Kizer Feist, and indeed it could be a bit of a problem here as well. Wondering, is it hitting the carbon fiber? No, not generally. Okay. Look, having the blade, the stop pin that is mounted within the blade is a fine thing. It works. It's okay. But when it's free moving like that, it can often, I see occasional evidence of it hitting the carbon fiber on the other side there, which is pretty unfortunate. There is a part of me that wants to, and in fact, I think I may just put a little bit of Loctite into, like onto the stop pin itself while it's centered, just in an effort to try and keep it from moving around too much. It's, I don't know, we'll see. You got to be very ginger with that because you want to make sure that you're not accidentally, well, coating the whole thing in there and then getting Loctite all up in your action, whatnot. All up in your actions a lot, like all up in your business. You don't want things all up in there. Okay. There's also a fair amount of dirt on this side here. It's not dirt. It looks like some sort of... I don't even know what this is some sort of, but whatever it is, it's some sort of ugly. See if we can get that off of there. Just using rubbing alcohol here. And as always, all of the tools that I am using to do this disassembly and maintenance are available online. I have a video about knife maintenance tools that has a link to a I've made a little list on the Amazon where you can buy all of these things, although I recommend if you can get any of them at your local stores, you should. I mean, if your local store is Walmart, then it's not really helping much of anything in terms of the knife community. Certainly making the Waltons richer. But I feel like they don't need your help. Anyways, back at the ranch. Go ahead. The backspacer just came off of there, which is fine. Want to do that when I unscrew all the screws here. We'll go ahead and pop that clean this out in there. The machining here is honestly not stellar, to be honest. Looking at the inside of the pivot hole there, just a little bit of... I feel like whoever made the Kizer Feist might have made this guy. I'm not saying it has any real problems. The Feist was a seriously problematic knife, but I'm seeing similar machining fouls here. So I really hope that's not indicative of a quality slippage thing. But that might explain the rough running action. I mean, seriously, if we look at the inside of this, here we go. You know, you can see all kinds of gunk and whatnot in there. Not super impressed. One more time here. I'm getting a lot of it off of there. Maybe it's just some sort of persistent nastitude, to use the technical term there. They call in an engineer, or she'd take a look around and say, yeah, you got persistent nastitude. Oh no, help. What killed him? He had a bad case of persistent nastitude. Alrighty, moving along. Back at the ranch. I'm going to go ahead and clean off the bearings. This is especially important in cases like this where you're seeing gunk and nastitude build up, because it's very easy for those kinds of things to coat the bearings and cause trouble. So I'm just going to kind of run these bearings against this piece of cloth with some booze on it and just see if I can knock that down, get these as clean as I can get them. I'm hoping that by the time I get everything sort of oiled up again, it will be in a much better position. But nonetheless, there seems to have been a little bit of a trouble here. It's one of the things I wish, well, okay, in many dimensions of my life, I wish I were omniscient. That is, I had the power to be all-knowing. Even though sometimes it may appear to the casual viewer like I already think I am, I know very little. But one area that's particularly opaque is like factories and sourcing in the knife-making world. Because, you know, with Kizer, for instance, I don't know a damn thing about how they make their knives, whether they have subcontractors. That was something that made me, you know, I was thinking about a lot with the Feist, because that knife had an uncharacteristic set of machining issues. And this one seems to have some similarities, although it is much better done than the Feist was. The original Feist, that is. They've now released a better version, although they haven't relabeled it, which is really ugly. But that's beside the point. But anyways, so I've wondered very often, you know, if I were able to know such things. Like, oh, this was made by a subcontractor, this was blah, blah, blah. Or just, there's a new sheriff in town at the Kizer factory, and these are the things that are coming out. I don't know if they have sheriffs in China. I mean, they must. But I don't know if they have new ones in town, so to speak. Anyways, moving it right along. Guys, I am a little bit hey-look-a-bird here this evening, but that's okay. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I am going to try and Loctite this pivot. Not pivot. Oh, God, no. I'm going to try and Loctite the stop pin in place here. To do that, I'm going to use this little spring bar tool here as an oiler and just throw it all over my working surface. Oy. I sure hope the code that's running over there is better than the jackass who's disassembling the Kizer Desert Dog over here. Anyways, I'm just going to try and coat a little bit the inside of that hole there. This way, when I slide the pivot through, it should have some thin layer of Loctite on there. And my goal here is that, and I'm just going to kind of wipe off a little bit there with the hope that this will be roughly centered and that when I leave it be overnight, for instance, it will, that Loctite will set and allow it a better situation. I think that's really optimistic. I should probably be using a better adhesive if that's my plan. But, you know, I don't have a better adhesive handy. Okay. And let's go ahead and drop this onto there. Just rotating the pivot here, the bearing there. Just get some good coating on there. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and lubricate the detent ball path. And this time, I am actually going to use the pen thing that helps me to knock down the amount I'm using. There we go. Much better. All right, so that's on there now. Great. Now, we can see there is a D-shaped pivot here, and it needs to line up with the D shape on this guy. That's fine and dandy. We will just make sure that that works. There we go. And, okay, what parts am I leaving out here? Backspacer is in. You can see the backspaces, just a chunk of nicely polished G10 there. Can't argue. Yeah, I don't want to feel, I don't want to come off like I'm impugning the quality of construction on this particular knife. There are a couple of little machining issues, but they're probably, just from the looks of it, they're pretty irrelevant little machining issues. I'm to the point now where I'm a complete and total snob for these things, but, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and, like I said, if this guy goes back together smoother, then I'll be a happy man nonetheless. Since I've already got the liquid stuff out, I'll use the liquid stuff here. I'm just going to drop in the round-headed screws to this hole and to this one. One interesting little bit of awkwardness about this guy, as I drop the screw into the knife itself, one interesting little awkwardness is that you're not able to fully loosen the body screws with the pivot tightened down because the body screws are underneath the scale, and the pivot needs to go in on top of it. And so as a result, if I have centering issues, I'm going to be troubleshooting that entirely using the pivot. I don't think it's going to be a major concern, but it is something to keep in mind. As I throw screws, guys, I should just go to bed or something. It's only 7 o'clock, but I should call it a day. Then again, I've had reasonable success so far today. If this is the worst I do, considering I had taken apart a $140,000 machine earlier in the day, I work with some weird boxes. Electronic stuff for measurement. And that went back together no problem. I feel like even if I completely butcher this knife, I'm still in the clear, so to speak, for the day. Okay. Let's go ahead and put this back together here. That's right, people. Disassembling and maintaining is not just a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Okay. Doing that, just a little bit of love tap there to, looks like I fixed the centering. No blade play, vertical or horizontal. Action is still gritty. Let me see if I can back the pivot out a little bit and help that. Might be a little tight. No, now I've just introduced blade play with the grittiness. Yeah, that's... I am slightly concerned that that stop pin in there is currently running up against the carbon fiber on one side or the other. That wouldn't be implausible. What I'm going to try and do here is just kind of tap the... Unfortunately, it feels about the same gritty as before, so I kind of suspect, and here I'll leave it like that so it doesn't go to one side or the other. I kind of suspect that there's just, I don't know, machining is not quite up to snuff here. Or maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe, well, I am just crazy, we know that. But either way, so we've put this guy back together now. It is centered again. I'm hoping that that stop pin will fix if I don't mess with it for 24 hours or so for curing time, and that maybe that'll help some things. But for the most part, though, the knife is fine. It does flip fine. I mean, the action is A-okay. The level of smoothness I'm complaining about here is at that level of kind of obscene obsession that I get to, but very few people do. Overall, I like the knife, actually. It's beside the point. But anyways, I hope this has been interesting to you, that you've learned how to disassemble and maintain your guy. If you happen to pick one of these guys up and you have taken yours apart, let me know in the comments how it worked out for you and if you had any of the weird machining stuff. But for the most part, I hope this has been interesting to you and that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.